In many religions, there is a belief that the human's essence, which is their personality, identity, and memories, is separate from one's physical being. After the body is no longer living, the soul continues to live separate from the body. This belief tends to transcend all cultures. People have different speculations of what happens to a human soul after they are no longer living. Their reason for having a belief tends to be wanting to have an answer and the fear of what happens after everyone's inevitable demise. We will be discussing the several different beliefs of what happens to a person's soul after it leaves its physical body, and specific studies that have been conducted to attempt to prove the existence of a soul. Scientists have discovered that belief in the soul living on after death, the paranormal, and aliens is associated with poorer sleep quality. In one study, 4 paranormal beliefs were evaluated using a 1 to 5 scale of belief, 1 being definitely not, and 5 being definitely yes. These were: do you believe that you have a soul that will live on after you die? In the existence of ghosts, and some people have the ability to communicate with the dead. Near-death experiences are evidence for life after death, the existence of demons, and do you believe that aliens have visited Earth or have interacted with humans? They were also asked about their sleep efficiency, specifically during the past month. What time have you usually gone to bed at night? What time have you usually gotten up in the morning? And how many hours of sleep do you get at night? Over 8,000 people completed the survey. It was found that higher level of paranormal belief was associated with poorer subjective sleep quality, even when controlling for age and gender effects. More specifically, participants who reported stronger beliefs in the paranormal also tended to report higher sleep efficiency, longer sleep latency, shorter sleep duration, and increased insomnia symptoms. We have been aware of this for a while, but we still don't know why. There is a moral dilemma that the clone of a human considered their own person. Some people claim that life begins at conception, the moment a sperm meets an egg. A new soul is created. However, this creates a dilemma, since identical twins are created after fertilization when the egg splits. Under this thought process, do twins have half a soul? Is there one twin with a soul and the other is soulless? What even is a soulless person? Chimeras are fraternal twins that combined in the womb to be one person. Under this belief, would they have 2 souls? Perhaps 2 half souls that don't match? Perhaps it is more likely, if souls exist, that it would develop after birth, and a fetus does not yet have a soul. But this is debatable. Cloning was pushed a lot in the 90s as a magical solution to organ donation. People are still trying to grapple with the idea of growing a human for the purposes of harvesting their organs. The real human person idea has already been addressed by several ethical scientists. We have moved away from human cloning and are now developing 3D printed organs and patient-sourced stem cell treatments. It would also make more sense to just grow organs instead of an entire human. Cloning is usually bad because many consider clones to not be soulless, even though they were created artificially, not through old-fashioned sexual reproduction. They have the same soul as any other human. It's unethical to create a genetic copy of a person for any exploitative purposes because the clone is its own independent person. Replacement clones created through teleportation is less of an argument about a soul and more about which version of the person has a valid claim on the identity of the original, since both have matching memories and personalities up to the point of the copy's creation. The argument is unlikely to ever have a real-world counterpart, especially since most realistic concepts of teleportation or cloning, the act of scanning a person, is destructive. If possible, it is to theorize the process would take so much energy to precisely locate all the particles and determine their quantum states that it would explode the atoms like a particle accelerator. According to a Marist poll, 73% of the United States citizens believe in soulmates. Researcher Raymond Nee wanted to know if there was a difference in how people answered this question. He found that people either believe in destiny or the ability to grow a relationship with anyone. Some people believe they are destined to be with a specific person. They have a soulmate, one person who is meant to be with them. Others believe you can grow with a person to fit together. Love can be built instead of it only being for people who are made for each other. Which do you believe? People who believe in soulmates are asking themselves if the person they are currently with is their person. That person is the best they can do. Whereas people with growth beliefs are asking themselves different questions. How can I be a better partner? How can we get closer? What can I do to improve the relationship? If you believe that there's only one person for you, you are more likely to spend energy and time looking for that person instead of developing existing relationships. Destiny believers have passionate, intense, short-term relationships, but often become disillusioned and frustrated when something inevitably goes wrong early in the relationship. Those who believe in soulmates won't necessarily be convinced that they aren't meant to be with someone when something bad happens after years together. Even in the happiest relationships, issues happen occasionally. They are constantly looking for their perfect person. They will not be with someone they can just make it work with. They need to feel like they are meant to be with a person. They often view compromise as settling. When something negative happens in a relationship, they think, better move on and find my person. Growth believers are more likely to spend longer on relationships, trying to make it work. Even early in relationships, they are more motivated to find solutions, compromise, or explore new ideas. They often view compromising as growth. When something negative happens in the relationship, they think, better work this out. Why are we attracted to some people but not to others? There can be a popular guy that a lot of girls have a crush on, but there's not one universally deemed as attractive. Well, people can still recognize the beauty in another person that someone may see, but they not necessarily will feel attraction to them, even though they are physically deemed as having a likable appearance. The laws of attraction are not fully understood. There are a lot of psychological theories trying to explain it, but they are not all backed by science. Some people say we're looking for people similar to our parents. Other studies offer a different view on this. Rodents are monogamous. Smell bonds them together. Some animals urinate on themselves to appear as a potential mate. One day, my manager came into work saying she saw an odd thing. A deer peeing while bending and moving her knees back and forth. My coworker suggested that since it was spring and mating season, the deer was urinating on itself, trying to appear to mate. Boys, I am peeing all over myself. Don't I smell so good? For humans, attraction is likely due to both sight and smell. We can't control what we are attracted to, but if you are attracted to certain groups of people for not suiting your preferences, then you may be called names. We have a very developed visual system, and research has shown appearance is an important part of how we pick our mates. Perhaps if you want to have children, you will be attracted to women with wide hips. If you are active, you might be attracted to men with muscles. However, if you're lazy and fat and lay around a lot like me, you may find chubby men to be cuties because they suit your lifestyle better. And women who are dominant instead of submissive are more likely to find short men attractive. Your partner's body odor becomes comforting to you and may even help maintain the relationship. Having a good sense of smell may facilitate identifying a healthy mate, enhance sexual experiences, relationship security, and longevity. Biologically speaking, close friendships are a type of soulmate too. People who become close friends often have an intimate affinity for each other. Research has shown that close friends, specifically those who immediately clicked, rather than ones who have developed their friendships over time, have similar brain patterns as well as smelling more alike than people who didn't form close relationships. In the study, scientists chose 20 sets of friends and collected body odor samples by asking them to wear the same t-shirt for a few days. The scientists used an electronic nose to determine the chemical fingerprint of each person's body odor. Close friends were compared to pairs of random strangers, with findings that the chemical signatures of friends were significantly more similar than people put together at random. Tumblr user Sadir said, "I have this weird theory that some people are drawn to each other because their atoms were near each other when the universe was created. And over time, the same atoms keep coming back together. This is an interesting hypothesis, but I don't personally know if it is a valid scientific explanation for soulmates, but I still find it intriguing to think about and consider the possibility."
Though the idea of a soul is thought to have existed for thousands of years, one myth from Plato's Symposium is frequently cited as being the first reference of the existence of a soulmate. In his writings, humans were powerful beings with 2 faces, 4 arms, and 4 legs. Their power made them feared by Zeus, so each being was cut into 2. It's said that the wound created from this severance is where the yearning for a romantic love originates, and that when people are searching for their soulmate, they are looking for their other half. Surprisingly, I found a lot more information on if soulmates are real than souls. There isn't a scientifically agreed upon definition for a soulmate. However, humans are part of a small club in the animal kingdom that can form a long-term relationship. Not necessarily monogamy. Humans evolved to have the ability to view another person as special. We have the capacity to single someone out from the crowd, elevate them above all others, and then spend decades with them. So soulmates can be possible for us. Some people believe there's only one soulmate in our lives, but that stands in the way of thinking you can find someone else and be happy after the death of a partner. Some suggest that the person who you will end up spending your life with, or your soulmate, may appear in disguise. You might not even be physically attracted to your soulmate when you first meet, but before you know it, you will find that person is the right one for you, and you feel each other's pain, you know each other's flaws, and benefits of their every trait. If it is negative, it can still have a positive aspect. A soulmate should focus on your positives. Even when things don't look so good, there is usually a benefit to each flaw. Stubborn people are good decision makers. Overly organized people can be great at paying bills on time. Marital psychologist Dr. Michael Tobin suggests that a soulmate is someone you feel deeply connected to, but not in a dependent or needy way. If you believe in soulmate, you can also know that you have found yours if you're not afraid of having a difficult conversation with them. With some people, you can fear that if you bring up something with them, they could react negatively and lash out at you. But with your soulmate, you will know they will always have an understanding of your feelings, even in times that they are a bit ridiculous. Expressing concerns you have with someone or your relationship, as well as attempting to make a difficult decision, can be uncomfortable, but having these discussions is vital in maintaining a healthy relationship with your soulmate. You know you will always be able to work out any issue, no matter how difficult. Soulmate will also be on the same page with values, ethics, and goals. You may have a different way of reaching those goals, but you both want the same end result. You have a feeling in your gut when you are with someone. This may not necessarily be when you first meet. Retrospectively, if your intuition is telling you that there is something off with someone, listen to it. Often it will pick up on something that you have missed. Soulmates, or in my opinion, everyone should respect others' differences and opinions and be open-minded. Not everyone is going to think the same as you on issues, and that's okay. You can disagree with someone and still respect them. Often soulmates can have differences in not just opinion, but in personality, which at times can be challenging. There is still a deep level of respect for each other. You listen to and can have a discussion on issues where you think differently without ending up screaming at each other. If you have met your soulmate, you will also know how to apologize to each other. Admitting you are responsible for causing pain to someone that you love is difficult. In a healthy relationship, you will realize that your actions can cause harm, even if you feel justified in your point of view. If your partner was hurt, you should still feel apologetic. Have you ever met someone and immediately knew that they were meant to be in your life? Maybe talking to them felt like you were talking to an old friend, even though you just met. Maybe you suddenly can't picture a future without them. You feel you are destined to meet, and being with them gives you a feeling of being at home. Soulmates are said to be two people who are destined to be together, whether romantically or platonically. There are also twin flames, which are similar, which you essentially have the same soul. They share an intense connection as they mirror each other's weaknesses, emotional damages, and insecurities. However, your twin flame isn't always a perfect match. They can bring out the negative sides of you,
but twin flames can still learn a lot from each other.
I'd like to make it known that when discussing soulmates and twin flames, often the information is a belief and not currently recognized as a fact. Ever met someone and wonder how you could possibly be so alike and how natural a conversation between you two feel? While soulmates and twin flames share similarities, such as feeling like you were destined to meet them, they're also very different connections. The main difference is that while your twin flame is two halves of the same soul, soulmates are two souls that belong together. Because of this, twin flames aren't always your perfect match in terms of romantic relationships or friendships. Whereas once a soulmate connection meet, it is difficult to ever imagine them apart. A twin flame connection is meant to challenge you and get you closer to the best version of yourself. A bit confusing, since it also said that they bring out the negative sides of you. Perhaps this is just part of the process. A long-term committed love will be found with your soulmates. One connection isn't necessarily better than the other, as both lead you to grow and have long-term success. Twin flames can be more intense and chaotic. But they teach you a lot about yourself. Don't put too much pressure on finding your soulmate or twin flame, as they will come naturally into your life. Some theorize there are many different types of soulmates. According to them, there are certain souls you agree to partner with in this lifetime. The most common type of soulmate. You might have agreed to be best friends, raise children, or start a business together. Personally, I do not believe the two souls agreed upon this. I more believe the universe intended for them to be together. I encourage you to believe what you want to. Even if you don't believe in soulmates, it can still be interesting to learn about what others believe and why. Hear what several different people have to believe and form your own belief. Or think of it all as unfactual. Whatever you believe or don't, still be respectful and open-minded to those who think differently than you. A soul partnership could be with someone you know for your whole life, such as a beloved sibling, or with someone you only know for a short time, such as an influential person in your industry who offers you a big break in your career. People who believe this think soul partners are specifically designed to help support you in this life emotionally or professionally. When you feel a tie with a person, it's simply the sense that someone is in your life for a reason. Some believe you can also have a soul connection with an animal. Even if you are not looking for a pet, you meet an animal unexpectedly and feel like bringing it into your home is the right thing to do for both of you. Many Eastern religions believe in the concept of past lives. Some believe that on occasion you meet someone who you knew in a past life when two souls have shared a significant past life together, or perhaps several. If they meet again during their current life, they may be inexplicably drawn to each other. If the connection is romantic, they can have strong sexual chemistry. In this situation, this feeling is the built-up energy over lifetimes together
and a soul recognition. Psychiatrist Brian Weiss believes two souls could agree to reincarnate and navigate towards each other after spending 1,000 Earth years apart. Though you had a significant past life with someone doesn't necessarily mean you were supposed to be partners. Often when souls come back together in this lifetime, they are looking to heal something or live a better life than they did in the past. In this belief, karma is frequently created by interacting with other people all the time. Whether the interaction be insignificant or life-changing, every interaction with someone, no matter how minor, creates energy that can turn into karma. You shouldn't fear this, but perhaps be mindful of it. If it is something that you believe, karmic relationships may come into your life to improve your karma, allowing you to grow and evolve. Keep in mind that the soul craves new experiences and growth and evolution. When someone enters a significant romantic relationship or falls in love, you are given the opportunity to heal, learn, and grow because of the connection, even in the happiest or healthiest relationships. Romantic soulmates can tend to initially cause you pain or challenge you in uncomfortable ways. You may feel like you've been waiting your whole life to meet this person. It's always worth the wait. Even if you are still waiting, this person will come to you when the time is right for both of you. Find ways to fall in love with life. Work on believing a great romantic relationship is possible for you, and work on healing your wounds from the past. Large groups of souls can be linked in soul families, commonly as people working towards a goal, such as activists working for a similar cause or a group of friends. Kindred spirits aren't always soulmates, but they can certainly be. Kindred spirits are simply people who really understand you. You might feel kindred spirit is someone who shares the same spiritual beliefs as you, or agrees with you about most cultural issues to the point that you could finish each other's sentences. A kindred spirit might always be someone who has a similar experience to yours. You have the same job, the same pet, and are married to someone similar. If you are confused what the difference between a twin flame and a kindred spirit is, so am I. Intuitive and spiritual teacher Robert Ohudo describes soul contracts as agreements your soul made to do in this lifetime. You might have a soul contract to mentor a child or write a book. These contracts can be renegotiated if you're in a toxic situation. Either change the dynamic to have a healthier one. Personally, I don't believe in this. I believe in destiny, or what the universe intends for you to do. Not exactly a soul in your past life deciding your fate, but who knows who is right? Could be all of us or none of us. Maybe we will never know. Even if someone doesn't stay in your lifetime long, it's still a soulmate. You two might always treasure your time together and the lessons you learned, but your lives are too busy to maintain a friendship. People sell their souls in exchange for wealth or fame. Usually, those who do this are said to become a slave to the devil in the afterlife. I'm interested in making a video in the future to go further into depth on this topic to discuss specific people who are said to have sold their soul, what selling your soul is, and what it entails and how you do it. Now that we have gone over the spiritual beliefs of the soul, let's discuss religion's views. Judaism believes the day of a soul enters the body with the first breath. As it happened with Adam, a baby's body changes a great deal immediately after it is born, as it must functionally transition from reliance on constant survival from its mother to an individual that needs to grow by itself. Whereas most Christians believe the soul is created at conception and is essentially in a sleeping state after death, as it waits for Judgment Day, when the soul's fate of eternity is determined. In this period, the soul is separated from the body, but eventually returns to a new embodiment. Pythagoras believed that beings held a human soul. He fought against their consumption. An account of his death says that when trying to escape pursuers, he refused to run into a bean field, which allowed for him to be captured. He believed you should never eat fava beans because they give you gas, and expelling gas took away the breath of life. Christina McKinnon, a psychiatrist, shamanic teacher, believes that a soul is what provides us with an inner voice, a moral compass, and direction. Our soul reminds us that there is more we can become, and it suffers when we don't nourish it by integrating a spiritual component into our lives and striving to give our lives meaning and purpose. Mongolian shamans believe that every person and animal have not one but three kinds of souls. Two of them are mortal, the other is immortal. According to shamanism, after a person's death, the mortal spirits will remain in the body for 3 years. They rest in the socket of the pelvic bones. When this bone dies, the mortal spirits disappear, and finally, the immortal spirit will rise up. When a guard dog of a shaman passes, the burial will involve removing its tail to put under its head. The sheep's tail is put in its mouth. In this way, people hope that the dog's soul will be transformed. The shamans hope that the soul will become a human soul and escort souls of the dead to the afterlife. Shamans claim to heal earthly communities and the spiritual dimension by returning lost parts of the human soul. They also claim to cleanse excess negative energies, which are said to confuse or pollute the soul. Twins had a unique role in many West African cultures. In the Iron Age, a period spanning from the first millennium to the 19th century, people in southeast Nigeria feared the birth of twins. However, by Yoruba culture in southwest Nigeria, praised the birth of twins. Igbo society viewed twins as a bad omen sent by the gods. Twins were seen as supernatural beings that bring devastation upon land and must be destroyed. And the clan must be punished for offending the gods. The entire community must suffer. Their parents would leave them in the forest out of fear for their power. Much to the contrary, the Yoruba saw twins to be of great importance. In their religion, twins are believed to be protected by Shangu, the god of thunder and lightning, even considered to be gods themselves. The twins were highly looked after and treated with honor, their community often honoring them with a monthly feast. Twins were thought to have supernatural powers, could increase their parents' wealth. It is believed that if one of the twins fell ill, that the other would soon after. This would cause misfortune to come to the entire community. After their passing, a statue would be carved in their memory, continued to be treated as the living twins, being cared for by the parents. Parents who failed to take care of the statues would suffer consequences. In the past, people were unaware of the birth of twins. This caused alarm and fear. The Aztec god Axolotl is the symbol of twins, sickness, deformities, and bad luck. In Aztec culture, people considered twins to be a type of deformity. Twins also reminded them of dogs, which represented filth and immortality. Twins seem to occur less frequently in Japan than in other countries. Twins in olden Japan were forced to face a horrible fate. They were thought to be an abhorrent existence, producing more than one offspring at a time. Finds them of animals. Oftentimes, one of the babies was secretly returned to heaven by a midlife, or was up for adoption without telling the mother. The firstborn often being the victim. Considered evil, that pushed aside its twin to come out first. Twins are often seen as evil and therefore bad luck. There are several superstitions about twins in Japan. It is said that twins of different sex are the reincarnation of a couple who passed together in their past lives. The saying says that if you eat eggs with two yolks, you will give birth to a twin, which was created to associate twins with bad luck. A mouthworm baby is extraordinary, so they are revered as a god in some cultures. Often in Hinduism, in a remote Nepalese village, a baby, Rizab, was born with 4 arms and 4 legs. He was seen as a miracle and revered as the reincarnation of Ganesh, the Hindu elephant god, who has several arms. The news of the rare birth spread further to other villages, causing Rizab to receive about 100 visitors a day. Though often praised, there were some people who thought differently of Rizab, thought to be a curse from a god because of a past life. One local Hindu priest openly said that the baby was a curse on the village and the reason for the failure of its crops. Some people said Januk, his mother, had this malformed child because she was sinful. Even though she didn't do anything wrong, she felt ashamed. Traditionally, animals haven't been designated the same type of souls as humans. Many religions, including Catholicism, teach that animals are capable of feeling but won't receive divine forgiveness, absolution from sin, or eternal life the way people can. In the 1960s, Pope Paul VI told a boy, "One day we will see our animals again in the eternity of Christ. Paradise is open to all God's creatures." The boy was mourning the death of his beloved dog. The church's longest reigning pope, Pope Pixus IX, said that animals have no consciousness and tried to stop the creation of animal cruelty protection groups in Italy. A century later, Pope John Paul II disagreed, elevating animals not to only having souls, but to being as important to God as mankind is. Afterwards, Pope Benedict said clearly animals are soulless. Comments from Pope Francis seem to suggest that he's leaning in towards the direction of animals going to heaven with us. The suggestion that all animals have souls, but mosquitoes on the same level as animals, and forces us to wonder if we should be treating them with the same respect as humans. That also goes for the animals we eat on a regular basis. Perhaps cows have souls and will be meeting us in that afterlife, if that's what you believe in. Doing research on this subject, I came across the Loner Wolf website, which has a take on souls that I don't necessarily agree with, but I find really interesting. Writer Alethea says if we understand the soul as the unique essence or essential force of something, we can see that everything has a soul because everything has a one-of-a-kind life force energy, which distinguishes it from all other things. No two things in existence are ever exactly the same when you go outside in nature. Notice the trees around you. If you pay attention, you will discover that each one has a certain uniqueness. Not just an appearance, but an energy. That is the soul of the tree. I don't know how I feel about this. I wouldn't say I believe in it personally, but I am open to the idea of all living things having a soul, even trees. But the writer suggests that everything has a soul. I could not personally accept the idea that non-living items could have a soul. Also, all living things have a soul is one of a tree, equivalent to an animal soul. I'd like to clarify I am completely ignorant to this belief, and I may be being offensive, even though I do not intend to be. I just personally want to learn more from the people who have these beliefs. In 1907, Duncan McDougall, a physician from Haverhill, Massachusetts, hypothesized that souls have a physical weight and attempted to measure the mass lost by a human when the soul departed the body. In what is known as the 21 grams experiment, McDougall measured the mass range of 6 people at the moment of demise. These were patients in nursing homes whose passings were imminent. 4 had tuberculosis, 1 from diabetes, and 1 from unspecified causes. People who were suffering from conditions that cause physical exhaustion were specifically chosen as the patients needed to remain still when passing to measure them accurately. When the patients seemed to be close to their passing, their bed was placed on an industrial-sized scale that was sensitive to 0.2 of an ounce. One of the patients lost weight, but then immediately gained it back. And 2 of the patients registered a loss of weight immediately after, but a few minutes later lost even more weight. One of the 6 subjects lost 3/4 of an ounce, or approximately 21 grams, coinciding with the time of death. The results of the other 2 patients were discarded, one because the scales were not fully adjusted, the other because the patient had passed while the equipment was still being calibrated. McDougall stated that his test would need to be replicated several more times before any conclusion could be drawn. The experiment is widely regarded as flawed and unscientific due to the small sample size.
the methods used, as well as only one of the 6 subjects meeting the hypothesis. Often cited as an example of selective reporting, despite its rejection in the scientific community, McDougall's experiment popularized the concept that the soul has weight, and specifically that it weighs 21 grams. On the belief that humans have souls and that animals do not, McDougall later measured the changes in weight from 15 dogs after death. He said he wished to use dogs that were sick or elderly for his experiments, though was unable to find any. It is likely healthy dogs are poisoned for his experiment. According to McDougall, none of the dogs lost any weight after death. Physician Augustus P. Clark criticized the experiment's validity, noting that at the time of the passing, there is a sudden rise in body temperature as the lungs are no longer cooling blood, causing an increase in sweating that could easily account for McDougall's missing 21 grams. Also pointing out that as dogs do not have sweat glands, they would not lose weight in this matter passing. The experiment has been widely rejected by the scientific community. He has been accused of flawed methods and outright fraud in the obtaining of his results, noting that only one of the 6 patients measured supported the hypothesis. In 1911, the New York Times reported that McDougall was hoping to run experiments to take photos of souls, but there were no reports of him continuing research. In 2001, a similar experiment was conducted by psychiatrist Louis Hollander. The weights of 8 sheep, 3 lambs, and 1 goat were tested at the moment of their passing. His experiment showed that 7 of the adult sheep varied their weight upon passing, though not losing it, but rather gaining an amount of 18 to 780 grams, which was eventually lost over time until returning to their initial weight. In 2005, physician Gerard Nahum proposed an experiment using electromagnetic detectors to try to pick up any escaping energy at the moment of someone's demise. He offered to sell his idea to engineering, physics, and philosophy departments at Yale, Stanford, and Duke University, as well as the Catholic Church, but he was rejected. Can a person be born without a soul? Do serial killers, psychopaths, and rapists have souls? I found this question also contemplated on the Loner Wolf website. These are not my beliefs, but ones I found online which I found interesting and want to share. Oftentimes, people who rightfully so react with disgust towards violent individuals who harm others believe that they do not have a soul.
I have no soul.
Were they born with a soul and eventually lost it, or were they born soulless? The writer's understanding is that everyone is born with a soul. It's just that some people lose connection to them due to childhood trauma. Sometimes this trauma is so intense that the person loses complete connection with their soul, is barricaded behind a wall of rage, hatred, pain, grief, and toxic beliefs, core wounds, and defense mechanisms. I would like to note, in absolutely no way does everyone who experiences trauma turn into violent people. And some people can be violent without trauma. It is just how someone chooses to respond to their trauma. Are they angry at the world and seek revenge, or do they have a better way of coping? The writer continues to share their belief that as a result of inner barricading, a person can appear to be soulless or dead inside, and in some sense they are, because they've become totally separated from the warmth and compassion of the soul. When this separation from the soul happens, despicable acts of cruelty can be committed because the person doesn't feel much. I may share these beliefs, but I don't know what I think about this. The subject is admittedly beyond my comprehension. Many people, including me, wonder why some people's spirits stay on earth as ghosts after death, and some pass on. Many people think it's because they have an earthly business to complete, and that it's why most ghosts are only a couple centuries old. There's none from the Middle Ages. La Llorona is one of them. Legend said she drowned her babies
And when she passed herself, she was sickened with grief and wanders Mexico searching for her children. The story widely varies. Some say she is a cursed soul and wasn't guilty for causing her children's passing at all, as it was mostly retold after its inception. Word of mouth, there isn't any consistency. Regardless, she stayed to complete her earthly duties. La Llorona is considered more of a legend, whereas much more people truly believe in ghosts, even those not religious or spiritual, as hundreds of thousands of people have claimed to see them, where claimed sightings of God are much less common. As of what happens to your soul after your demise, there are many different speculations. It is often the question which religion was created on to answer. Many believe in some sort of afterlife or reincarnation. If not all, I am not aware of any religions that believe there is nothing after death. It is mostly the non-religious or spiritual people who think that, but I am ignorant. There are beliefs, cases of past life recognition that suggest that reincarnation is real, with so much evidence that many other creators have done amazing videos on that I suggest you search for if you are interested in learning more about this topic. One of the most famous cases is of James Houston Jr. I could also discuss out-of-body experiences. There is so much I could discuss that I would rather cover it in a potential future video because I am exhausted. At the time of writing this, not at the time of filming. I want to be done with this. I do not want to continue to add more pages of research and spend another 2 weeks on this.